Hello everyone, welcome to the Edu Atmanirbhar YouTube channel. Our today's topic is Coral Reefs of India. Now let's move on the topic. First topic, Introduction to Coral Reefs. Coral reefs are considered significant ocean ecosystems that make a strong argument for dangers of the ever-changing climate. Coral reefs, also as the rainforest of the ocean, contribute significantly to the planet's biodiversity. Being one of the most ancient and dynamic ecosystems of the world, coral reefs have been necessary to sustain life in the oceans. Due to the warm tropical regions in India, corals thrive in the Indian Ocean. These reefs not only provide sanctuary to a vast ecosystem but also protect the coastline from eroding. Named as one of the most extensive environments on the earth, coral reefs are home to approximately 25% of all ocean expanses according to scientists. The coral reefs have specifically come to light since the initiation of global warming and climate change happening around the world. Now move on to the coral reefs meanings and definitions. Corals is actually a living animal. Coral has a symbiotic relationship, that is, each gives something to the other and gets something back in return, with zooxanthellae, macroscopic algae which lives on corals, that is, instead of living on the sea floor, the algae lives up on the coral which is closer to the ocean surface, and so that the algae gets adequate light. They are elementary sedimentary rocks located above the sea and the oceanic beds of continental shelves and mid-oceanic ridges. These organic sedimentary rocks are formed on the platform of shelves and ridges through a combined process that includes sedimentation, compaction, cementation, and solidification of the skeleton of the coral polyps. Coral reefs are built by and made up of thousands of tiny animals, coral polyps, that are related to anemones and jellyfish. Polyps are shallow water organisms which have a soft body covered by calcareous skeleton. The polyps extract calcium salt from seawater to form these hard skeletons. The polyps lives in colonies fastened to the rocky seafloor. The tubular skeleton grew upward and outward as a cemented calcareous rocky mass collectively called corals. When the coral polyps die, they shed their skeleton corals on which new polyps grow. The cycle is repeated for over millions of years, leading to accumulation of layers of corals. Shallow rocks created by these depositions is called reefs. These layers at different stages give rise to various marine landforms. One such important landform is called coral reefs. Coral reefs over a period of time transform or evolve into coral islands, which is located in Lakshadweep Island. The corals occurs in different forms and colors depending upon the nature of salt or constituents they are made up of. Small marine plants, that is algae, also deposit calcium carbonate, contributing to coral growth. Now move on to the next topic, that is importance of coral reefs. Or why is the survival of coral and coral reefs important to human and marine life? Coral reefs are supremely beneficial or important for our human and marine ecosystem. Some of its benefits are listed below. First, reefs are the most diversified and valuable ecosystem on the earth. The ecosystem services coral reefs provide includes the protection of shoreline, fisheries, and ecotourism. Reefs are crucial for safeguarding the coastal line from coastline from storm surges and flooding. Coral reefs are the building blocks for intricate food webs and are home to a staggering variety of fish. This web's foundation comprises a variety of invertebrates, soft coral, sponges, and algae. Coral also act as water purifier. Most corals and sponges are filter feeders, that is, eat suspended particles in the water. Corals contribute to the ocean by catalyzing nutrient cycle, carbon and nitrogen fixation, and various other processes. Coral reefs have a somewhat similar significance. First, coastal protection. Coral reefs also act as a barrier and protect the coastal areas from strong ocean currents and waves. They also provide protection from ocean storms and cyclones. With the increasing amount of cyclones in India due to climate change, these natural barriers have become excessively important. Second, food source. Fish that live in and around coral reefs are a healthy source of protein for billions of people, mainly living on coastlines. Some fishing industries are entirely dependent on the coral reefs and the wildlife that it attracts. Third, medicinal properties. Coral reefs are said to be the medicine chest of the sea. Some fish that the coral attract leave behind some chemical compounds that are similar to the ones used in human hospitals. Fourth, meteorology. A new study by the Indian Institute of Meteorology has stated that corals along the northwestern coast provided insight on the pattern of onset and withdrawal of Indian monsoon. Tourism. Most of the gross national product of countries with coral reef industries comes from the tourism sector. Due to these beautiful corals, a study had estimated that the value of coral reefs was $10 billion and the direct economic benefits were approximately $360 million per year. Move on to the next topic, that is classification or various types of coral reefs in India. Charles Darwin gave the classification of coral reefs in the year 1831. This classification is based on the reef's nature, composition, and mode of occurrence. These are as follows. First, fringing reefs or shore reefs. Fringing reefs are reefs that grow directly from a shore. They are located very close to the land and often form a shallow lagoon between the beach and the main body of the reef. This type of reef grows from the deep sea bottom with the seaward side sloping steeply into the deep sea. Coral polyps do not extend outwards because of sudden and large increase in depth. The fringing reef is by far the most common of the three major types of coral reefs, with numerous examples in all major regions of coral reef development. Fringing reefs can be seen at the New Hebrides Society Islands of Australia and off the southern coast of Florida. In India, fringing reef form found in Andamans. Second, patch reefs. Patch reefs are isolated and discontinuous patches lying shoreward of offshore reef structure as seen in the Parkway, Gulf of Mannar and Gulf of Kutch. They rarely reach the surface. Third, barrier reefs. Barrier reefs are linear offshore reef structure that run parallel to the coastline and arise from submerged shelf platforms. The water body between the reef and the shore is termed as lagoon. Barrier reefs are seen in Nicobar and Lakshadweep. The most suitable example of a barrier reef is the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. It is also largest barrier reef in the world. Fourth, atolls. Atolls are circular or semicircular reefs that rise from subsiding seafloor platforms as coral reefs building keep ahead of subsidence. The examples are the atolls of Lakshadweep and Nicobar, the Fiji atoll, the Funafuti atolls in the Ellice Island are well-known examples of atolls. When the reef building do not keep pace with subsidence, reefs become submerged banks as seen in Lakshadweep. Seagrasses grow on Kavarati atoll. Mangroves are prevalent on Andaman and Nicobar coral reefs. Among the four major reef areas of India, Andaman and Nicobar Islands are found to be very rich in species diversity, followed by the Lakshadweep Island, the Gulf of Mannar, and finally the Gulf of Kutch. Now move on to the next topic, that is functions of coral reefs. Number 1. Coral reefs are natural protective barriers against erosion and storm surge. Second, the coral animals are highly adapted for capturing plankton from the water, thereby capturing nutrients. Third, largest biogenic calcium carbonate producer. They provide substrate for mangroves. Fourth, coral reefs provide habitat for a large variety of animals and plants including avifauna. Move on to the next, that is threats on coral reefs. First, global warming. As the global warming increases, leads to melting of glaciers and decreases the salinity of ocean as influx of river water increases, and hence threats to coral reefs are increasing. Second, coral bleaching. Most corals have a narrow temperature tolerance. Coral bleaching when corals are stressed due to warmer ocean water. Coral eject the symbiotic algae that live inside them when stressed. When coral lose their algae, they lose their built-in food source. Outbreaks of coral diseases follow bleaching events as the stressed corals are susceptible to infection. Third, rising sea surface temperature. As glaciers melt due to global warming, they cause sea levels to rise. Consequently, corals ends up in deeper underwater, receives less sunlight and grow more slowly. Fourth, natural disaster. Stronger, more frequent storms, hurricanes, cyclones can break coral branches and overturn coral colonies. Fifth, ocean acidification. As the oceans absorb CO2, they become more acidic. With increased acidity in the water, corals may form weaker skeletons, be more vulnerable to disease and destruction by storms. Sixth, ozone depletion. Corals have a natural sunscreen for protection from UV rays, that is ultraviolet radiation, but if UV rays level increases, this radiation can damage corals in shallow waters. 7. Unsustainable fishing. Overfishing is a threat affecting around 55% of the world's coral reefs. 8. Water pollution. An overabundance of nutrients in marine environments upsets the balance of reef ecosystem. Excess nutrients promote the growth of algae, which can kill corals by smothering, blocking sunlight, and promoting the growth of harmful bacteria. 9. Habitat destruction. Coral reefs are living structures that can take years to regenerate once destroyed. Many activities such as coral mining, construction, coral collecting, destructive fishing methods, unsustainable tourism affects the habitat and impact coral reefs adversely. Now move on to the last topic, that is government initiatives to protect coral reefs. Means how to protect the coral reefs, the government initiatives, with the help of government initiatives. First, under Coastal Regulation Zone Notifications and Island Protection Zone Notification, corals are sought to be protected by regulating development activities along the sea coast. Second, the laws that have a bearing on coral reef areas are the Indian Forest Act 1927, the Forest Conservation Act 1980 and the Indian Fisheries Act. Third, Integrated Coastal and Marine Area Management launched in 1998 aims at integrating the management of coastal and marine areas, has prepared model plans for the Gulf of Kutch. Fourth, India has also created mechanisms such as National Coastal Zone Management Authority NCZMA and State Coastal Zone Management Authority for the protection of coastal and marine areas. Fifth, Ministry of Environment and Forest. India has including studies on coral reefs under the Coastal Zone Studies. Thank you so much for watching my video.